A candle trembles on the long oak table. Outside, rain lashes against cracked shutters. Thunder rolls like cannons in the distance. The silver platter waits beneath its lid. A servant's hand, steady, deliberate, sets it before the master of the house. No words, only breath, slow and calm. The lid lifts. Gasps choke the room. A severed tongue, slick with fresh blood, rests on fine china. A fork clatters to the floor. The master stares, pale, mute. From the shadows, unseen lips whisper, he dined on cruelty. Tonight he will taste silence. The sun hangs heavy over Westmoreland County, Virginia, summer of 1834. Heat bends the air above the tobacco fields. Rows of plants wilt in the clay, their leaves broad and sticky. Mud roads crack beneath wagon wheels. The quarters sit low against the earth, huts of clay and straw, roofs sagging under years of storms. Beyond them rises the Calhoun Plantation, a mansion with pillars that once shone white, but now flake like dead skin. Cracks spider along its walls. The grandeur rots, but the cruelty inside does not. Chains rattle somewhere in the fields, faint as wind chimes. Samuel Briggs straightens from his hoe. Sweat streams into the lines of his face. He is lean, grey at the temples, eyes deep and cautious. He hears more than he says. From the porch, Martha sweeps ashes into a wooden pan. Her back is bent, her hands raw. The soot clings to her skin like it has chosen her as its own. She does not raise her voice, but she sees all that others miss. Samuel's voice breaks the cicada buzz. Too quiet, Martha. Even the birds know something brewing. Martha keeps sweeping. The ash stirs up in a black cloud, hiding her expression. You hear things, I see things. Together it makes a picture. Samuel leans on his hoe. His whisper carries more weight than a shout. Talk of night meetings. Talk of prayer that sound more like planning. Men moving when they should. Be sleeping. Martha glances toward the fields where overseers patrol, boots crunching in the dirt. And talk of the master drinking more, cussing more. A drunk man's ear don't catch whispers, but his temper, it catch fire. A horse whinnies from the stable. The air tastes of dust and iron. Samuel lowers his voice further. Some say he beat Isaac near half to death last month, say he laughed after. Martha sets her broom aside. For a moment she lets her hands rest on her knees, her breath trembling. Laughing don't stop the chain from rusting. Rust means weak. Weak means break. A shutter bangs open above them. A woman's sharp voice cuts through the air, calling for Martha. Martha stiffens, gathering her pan of ash quickly. She turns to Samuel. Keep your ears open, Briggs. A storm don't come without warning. She hurries inside, ash dust trailing. Her like smoke. Samuel remains in the yard, hoe balanced on his shoulder. He stares at the mansion. Cracked pillars reach skyward like bones, the windows dark with secrets. Chains clink again, closer this time. He whispers to himself a prayer or a warning. Storm coming, can feel it in the ground. The wind carries the smell of tobacco, sweat, and something heavier, like blood not yet spilled. The screen fades black, leaving only the sound of chains dragging across dirt. The year is 1824. Summer presses down like a heavy hand. The fields of the Calhoun Plantation shimmer under a punishing sun. Children's laughter does not echo here. It is swallowed by the dirt. Inside one of the slave quarters, a girl crouches by a loose floorboard. Evelyn is 8. Her hands are small but quick, her eyes wide and steady. A scar runs fresh across her wrist, the skin raised and angry. Her brother Isaac, 2 years older, leans against the wall, humming a low tune. It is the lullaby their mother hums each night, soft and steady, as if music could keep the world from breaking them. Clara kneels beside her children, pressing a scrap of cornbread into Evelyn's hand. Now, she says, voice low. Push, it deep under where no one sees. Evelyn slides the bread beneath the plank. Isaac watches, still humming. Clara brushes sweat from her brow with the back of her hand. Her voice carries warning, carved from years of surviving. You hide what feeds you. You hide what keeps you. Out there, the wrong eyes see, and you'll pay with more than a scar. Remember, my babies, survive quiet or die loud. Evelyn nods. The scar throbs as if agreeing. Isaac stops humming long enough to ask, Mama, why they'd beat her. She just dropped a plate. Clara's face hardens, her jaw tight. "'Cause cruelty don't need a reason. Don't ask why, Isaac. Just keep breathing. That's answer enough." The sound of laughter drifts from outside. Not children's laughter, something sharper, crueler. Through the window, Thomas Calhoun, not yet 20, struts across the yard. A bottle dangles from his hand. His boots crunch against gravel as he circles a boy no older than Isaac. The boy trembles, clutching a handful of crushed tobacco leaves. Thomas's voice carries smooth and mocking. "Look at you, drop my father's profit in the dirt. What's that worth, you think? A whipping, maybe more?" The boy stammers, "Please, sir, I didn't mean..." Thomas raises the whip before the plea can finish. It cracks through the air, slicing across the boy's back. The sound rips the summer quiet apart. Evelyn jerks back from the window, clutching her wrist as if the whip had struck her again. Isaac's humming falters into silence. Clara pulls them both close, covering their ears, but the sound pierces anyway. Outside, Thomas laughs. A laugh wet with whiskey, bitter and triumphant. "You drop leaves, you drop blood, remember that." The boy collapses into the dirt. Thomas tosses the whip aside as if it were a toy, then lifts his bottle and takes a long, careless drink. His eyes gleam with satisfaction. Isaac whispers into Evelyn's ear, fierce and trembling, "One day I'll stop him. I'll make him pay." Clara grips his chin, forcing his eyes to hers. "You don't stop a storm by shouting at it. You bend, you wait, you pray it passes." Isaac pulls free, his young face hardening. "No, Mama. Storms don't pass, they break." Night falls. The quarters glow faintly with firelight. Evelyn lies awake on the dirt floor, Isaac beside her. He hums the lullaby again, softer this time, almost broken. Evelyn stares at the scar on her wrist, tracing it with her finger. "Isaac," she whispers, "do scars ever go away?" He shakes his head slowly. "No, they just stop hurting. But they still talk to you." "What do they say?" "That you remember." The whip cracks again in her memory, though the night is quiet. Outside, the moon spills light across the fields. The tobacco leaves rustle like whispers. Chains glint faintly in the distance, catching the moonlight like a warning. Evelyn shuts her eyes tight, humming with Isaac now. The lullaby rises together, two voices clinging to the only shield they have left. The camera drifts upward. The mansion, looming against the night, its cracked pillars glowing white in the moonlight, while in the fields, blood dries into the soil, silent but not forgotten. The years turn. The children of the fields grow taller, their voices deeper, their eyes sharper. Evelyn now stands on the edge of womanhood. Her scar has faded pale but never disappeared. She touches it often, as though it reminds her why she must endure. She lingers near the edge of the Calhoun property one twilight, the air heavy with the scent of pine and damp earth. A boy waits there, pale-skinned, his hair falling across his brow. Nathaniel. His clothes are simple, though not ragged, his hands smudged with ink. He is the preacher's son, restless, brimming with words he shouldn't speak aloud. Nathaniel holds out a folded scrap of paper. "Here. Liberty. That's the word today." Evelyn takes it carefully, as if it were made of glass. She studies, the letters whispering each one under her breath. Liberty. Nathaniel smiles, eager, proud. "Good. You're quicker than I ever was. You'll know more than me soon." Evelyn tucks the paper into her apron, hiding it like treasure. Her eyes dart toward the mansion looming in the distance. "If they find me with this..." Nathaniel steps closer. "Then they'll burn it. But they can't burn what's in here." He taps her forehead gently. She looks at him a long moment, her breath caught between fear and something softer, warmer. Then she turns away, the scrap pressed tight to her side. By day, Isaac moves in the stables, his shoulders broad now, arms corded with strength. He brushes the horses, humming low as he works. His songs twist from hymns into whispers of something else, stories of escape, of freedom, of vengeance. The other men listen when they can, leaning close, their eyes darting toward the overseer's shadow. Rachel joins Evelyn at the wash line behind the quarters. Steam rises from the boiling pot. where she has burned her arms too many times to count. The scars climb her skin like vines. Rachel grins anyway, wringing out a shirt. "You always staring at him." Evelyn snaps her gaze up. "Who?" "Don't. Play dumb, girl, that preacher boy. The one bringing you scraps of words like they sweets." Evelyn looks away, busying her hands. "He risking more than me. He don't know it, but he is." Rachel lowers her voice. "You can't let your heart pull you where your chains won't let you go." Evelyn says nothing, but her grip on the wet cloth tightens until water runs down her wrist. One evening, Evelyn returns to the quarters, apron heavier than usual. She kneels quickly, trying to slip another paper beneath the floorboard. But before she can press it down, a shadow falls over her. Thomas Calhoun. Older now, leaner, with whiskey always on his breath, his eyes glint like a predator's. "What you got there?" His voice slurs but cuts sharp. Evelyn freezes. The paper trembles in her hand. "Nothing, sir." Thomas snatches it before she can hide it. He unfolds the scrap, staring at the letters. His laugh bursts out, ugly and cruel. "Well now, what's this? You think yourself a scholar? Think you'll write yourself free?" He steps closer, holding the paper near her face. Then, with deliberate slowness, he touches it to the flame of the lamp. The edges curl black, smoke rising between them. Evelyn's chest tightens. She watches the letters she struggled over turn to ash. Thomas leans down, his breath hot with liquor. "Your tongue's too clever. Maybe I'll cut it out before it says something dangerous." He lets the ashes fall to the dirt, grinding them beneath his boot. His laugh echoes as he turns and leaves. Evelyn kneels in the silence, the smoke still hanging in the air. Her scar burns again, as if freshly carved. Isaac steps from the shadows, fists clenched, voice trembling with fury. "One day he'll choke on his own words, I swear it," Evelyn whispers back, eyes fixed on the ashes. "Then maybe I'll be the one to feed them to him." Night falls heavy. Evelyn lies awake, staring at the stars through the cracks in the roof. Nathaniel's face drifts into her thoughts, his voice urging her to keep the words alive. Rachel's warnings echo, sharp and true. Isaac hums the lullaby across the room, steady, unyielding. And somewhere in the house above, Thomas drinks and laughs, the sound rolling across the dark like thunder before a storm. The camera lingers on Evelyn's scar, her lips whispering the word she learned that day: liberty. The screen fades to black. The night is heavy, thick with summer heat. The quarters lie in restless silence, the only sound the low murmur of Isaac's voice. He kneels on the dirt floor, a circle of weary men and women around him. His words are not hymns but prayers shaped like defiance. Chains can rust, chains can break. The Lord hears the groaning of his people. The circle leans closer, hearts hungry for the sound of hope. Evelyn watches from the shadows, her brother's voice a lantern in the dark. The door bursts open. Thomas Calhoun staggers inside, lantern swinging in one hand, whip in the other. His eyes gleam wild, whiskey dripping from his breath. "What's this?" His voice cuts sharp. "A church service in my quarters." The circle scatters, some falling to their knees, others pressing faces to the floor. Isaac stays standing. Thomas steps closer, whip coiled at his side. "You think your words matter here? You think your prayers keep my crop alive?" Isaac's voice doesn't falter. "My prayers ain't for you, Thomas. They're for freedom. Abide." "Hush, fools." Even the insects outside stop. Thomas's mouth twists into a grin. "Freedom." He spits the word like it tastes foul. "Mercy, freedom, same foolish tongue." He snaps the whip. The crack echoes through the quarters. He points it at Isaac. "Kneel." Isaac doesn't move. Evelyn rises, stepping between them, her hands trembling. "Please, sir, he meant no harm," Thomas sneers. His words drip venom. "Mercy is a language I don't speak." The whip slashes across Isaac's chest. He stumbles but doesn't fall. Another strike, and another. Flesh tears, blood stains the dirt. Evelyn screams, reaching for him, but two overseers shove her back. The quarters echo with muffled sobs, chains rattling as people shift in helpless terror. The whip sings its cruel rhythm until Isaac collapses. Thomas stands over him, chest heaving, sweat shining on his brow. "Let this be the hymn you remember," he signals to the overseers. They drag Isaac's limp body out into the night, toward the stables. His blood leaves a trail dark against the dust. Evelyn stumbles after them, breaking free long enough to fall beside her brother's broken frame. His breathing is ragged, his face pale. Thomas towers above, lantern light casting his shadow long. Leave him there. Let the animals keep him company. He turns, laughing, and strides back toward the mansion. His laughter lingers, thick as smoke. The quarters remain silent. Only the sound of chains, faint and sorrowful, fills the air. No one dares move. Evelyn kneels beside Isaac, pressing her hands to his wounds, though they cannot stop the bleeding. Tears burn her face, but her voice is steady, low, meant only for him. "If you won't hear our voices," she whispers, eyes fixed on the mansion, "you'll never speak again." Isaac's hand trembles in hers, his lips moving to the faint hum of the lullaby. His strength is gone, but the tune rises in her memory, carried on her breath now. The camera lingers on Evelyn's face, grief hardened into something sharper. The scar on her wrist glints in the lantern light, no longer a mark of survival, now an oath. The screen fades to black on the sound of chains clinking, louder than before, as if the whole plantation had begun to stir. The days after Isaac's beating move like thunderclouds. He breathes still, but barely, his body broken in the stables. Evelyn tends him in silence, pressing cool cloths to his wounds. Each groan of pain etches itself into her resolve. At dawn, she walks to the forge. The air smells of iron and coal smoke. Inside, old Jonah bends over the anvil, half-blind eyes squinting at sparks. His hands are scarred, thick with years of shaping metal. He doesn't look up when she enters. "I know that step. What you want, girl?" Evelyn's voice is low but unshaken. Something sharp, something that cuts. Jonah grunts, hammer rising and falling. "Plenty of knives in the house. Not like this," she says, touching her wrist where the scar lives. "I need it born of chains." For the first time, Jonah glances at her, one pale eye gleaming. He sets aside his hammer, reaches for a length of rusted chain pulled from the fields. He runs his thumb across it, the iron flaking like scabs. "You sure?" Evelyn nods. "I ain't asking for sure. I'm asking if you ready to carry it." Her answer is steady. "I already carry worse." Jonah studies her, then feeds the chain into the fire. Sparks leap, firelight dancing against the forge walls. He mutters under his breath, almost a prayer. Chains make burdens. Maybe they make blades too. In the mansion, Margaret Calhoun drifts through rooms heavy with velvet curtains and stale perfume. Her beauty lingers like the echo of a song long past, but her eyes are tired, ringed with shadows. She watches her husband drain another bottle at dinner, rage flickering just beneath his slurred laughter. Later, she finds Evelyn scrubbing the floor, hands raw and wet. Margaret pauses, voice sharp but not cruel. "Did you ever think, girl, that cages come gilded too?" Evelyn glances up, startled. Margaret leans against the doorway, silk rustling. "I walk these halls dressed in pearls, and still I am chained. Don't envy me." Before Evelyn can answer, a small voice interrupts. Anna, no more than 8, clutches a doll with glass eyes. She tugs at her mother's skirt. "Mama, why's Papa always shouting?" Margaret smooths the girl's hair. "Because some men don't know how to speak without hurting." Her eyes linger on Evelyn a moment longer, a silent message neither dares say aloud, before she guides Anna away. Night. Evelyn sharpens the blade Jonah forged. It gleams faintly in the candlelight, jagged where the chain links once bound. She hums Isaac's lullaby as she works, the sound steady, ritualistic. Each stroke of the whetstone sings like prophecy. A board creaks behind her. Martha appears in the doorway, broom in hand, eyes catching the glint of steel. For a moment, the air freezes. Martha's gaze meets Evelyn's. The servant woman tilts her head, lips pressed tight. Then, without a word, she lowers her eyes and sweeps the ashes across the floor, covering her tracks as she leaves. Evelyn exhales, relief and fear tangled. In the kitchen the next day, the smell of herbs and vinegar fills the air. Evelyn grinds leaves into a powder, mixing it into a small pouch. Poison, faint and bitter. She sprinkles a little onto the hearth, watching it hiss in the fire. Her scar itches. She presses it like sealing an oath. Behind her, a voice hisses. "What are you doing?" She spins. Nathaniel stands in the doorway, pale with fear. "You'll get yourself killed," he whispers. "There's still time to run. I can take you north. We can be gone by winter." Evelyn steadies her voice. "Run and leave Isaac, leave all of us. Running leaves them with tongues. Silence must be taught." Nathaniel steps forward, desperate. "I taught you words to live free, not die caged." Evelyn meets his eyes, unflinching. "Then you taught me wrong." Her words cut sharper than the blade. Nathaniel lowers his head, torn between love and dread. Later that evening, she carries laundry across the hall. A folded letter slips from her apron pocket, landing silently on the floor. Before she can snatch it, Thomas's boots stop inches away. He stoops, snatches it up. Evelyn's blood runs cold. Thomas unfolds the paper, squints at the marks. Then, he laughs, bitter and careless. "Just scribbles. You think you're hiding treasures, girl, but it's nothing but chicken scratch." He crumples it, tossing it aside. His eyes rake over her. "One day I'll see what else you hide." He strides away, leaving her breathless, her heart pounding in her throat. That night in the stables, Evelyn kneels beside Isaac again. He stirs weakly, eyes opening to her voice. She hums the lullaby softer than ever, steel hidden at her side. He whispers, "You hum like Mama. Brings peace." Evelyn's eyes burn. "No, Isaac. It brings war." The camera lingers on her scar. Her blade, the pouch of herbs. Motifs converge like storm clouds. The screen fades to black on the sound of the lullaby, sung now as a vow. Autumn 1834. The Calhoun mansion glows like a lantern in the darkness, windows lit with firelight, smoke curling into the night. Inside, the air is thick with roast pork, sweet tobacco, and the sour tang of spilled wine. Aristocrats in silk coats and lace collars laugh too loudly, their rings catching the candlelight as servants move soundlessly through the hall. At the edge of it all, Evelyn waits in the shadows. Her apron hides linen folded neat. Her fingers curl around the scar at her wrist as though it burns. She climbs the staircase. Each step creaks. Each breath tastes of wax and dust. A single drop of candle wax lands on her hand. She doesn't flinch. In Thomas's chamber, the fire sputters. He sits slouched at the desk, glass of whiskey tilting in his fist. Papers scattered, words he'll never read. His boots are undone, his shirt half open. He smirks when she enters. "Well, if it ain't the little mouse, come to pour my drink, or sing me a hymn like your brother used to." Evelyn closes the door behind her. The blade gleams at her side, steel reborn from chains. His laugh is thick, mocking. "You got eyes on me like you're planning something." "Careful, girl. Curiosity kills quicker than a whip." She steps forward, voice calm, steady. "No whip tonight." Thomas raises his brows, amused. "No." "Then what?" The blade flashes. For a heartbeat, silence. Then the struggle. He lunges, whiskey crashing to the floor, shards scattering. His hand grips her arm, twisting hard. She grits her teeth, scar whitening under his grip. He spits words between drunken breaths. "Think you can scare me? I own you." Evelyn drives her knee into his chest. He staggers, curses. The blade catches candlelight, singing as it cuts the air. He laughs even as he bleeds, eyes wild. "You ain't got it in you, weak like the rest." Her face is carved in stone. No, not weak, silent. The blade strikes, a guttural cry, muffled, cut short. His body thrashes, whiskey-soaked shirt blooming red. Blood spatters the floorboards, dark as rust. His tongue falls loose in her hand, slick, writhing like some unholy thing. Thomas gurgles, hands clutching his throat, eyes bulging with disbelief. He collapses against the desk, papers soaking in crimson. Evelyn wraps the tongue in linen, folding it neat as if it were bread for the table. Her hands are steady. From outside, laughter drifts up the hall. Glasses clink. No one yet knows. The dining hall roars with noise. Laughter, toasts, drunken songs. Candles flicker across silver platters piled high. Roasted apples glistening with fat. Pork ribs steaming. Margaret sits stiff at the far end, her beauty dimmed by weariness. Anna beside her clutches her glass-eyed doll, stroking its curls. Jonah lingers near the wall, half-blind eyes narrowed, listening more than seeing. Martha sweeps in the corner, quiet as ash. The doors open. Evelyn walks in, calm. Her steps are measured, deliberate. The guests barely notice at first. Just another servant carrying another dish. But her hands cradle the silver platter with strange reverence, as though it holds more than food. She moves to the head of the table where Thomas's seat waits empty. A guest chuckles. "So your master's lagging behind, girl. He'll be needing that roast." Evelyn sets the platter down. Slowly, carefully, she lifts the lid. Silence spreads like smoke. On the silver plate rests the linen bundle. She unwraps it with delicate fingers, revealing the severed tongue, glistening, still wet with blood. A fork clatters. Someone gasps. Margaret's hand flies to her mouth. Her chair scrapes back. Then she collapses, faint, silk spilling across the floor. Hannah screams, clutching her doll, eyes wide with terror. A man shouts, "Sweet Christ!" Another retches into his napkin. Jonah mutters from the wall, voice low, steady. "Chains broke tonight." All eyes turn to Evelyn. She stands still, blood-specked, her scarred wrist bare, her gaze locked on the stunned guests. She does not run. She does not speak. Thomas staggers into the doorway, clutching his throat, blood pouring between his fingers. He tries to form words, but nothing comes. Only guttural, gasps wet and broken. His eyes, wide with fury and terror, lock on Evelyn. Evelyn's voice is cold as iron. "You dined on cruelty. Tonight you'll taste silence." The hall erupts into chaos. Guests push back chairs, dishes crash, wine spills like blood across the tablecloth. Anna sobs. Margaret moans faint on the floor. Martha sweeps ash with trembling hands, eyes darting. But Evelyn stands unmoving, blade at her side, blood drying on her apron. The aristocrats shout for guards, for law, for vengeance, yet none step forward. Their power, for the first time, trembles. In the corner, Jonah leans against the wall, whispering almost to himself. "Storm's here. Ain't no stopping it now." The camera closes on Evelyn's face. Calm, unreadable, carved from fire and shadow. The screen fades to black with the sound of her lullaby, hummed low and haunting, as if the dead themselves might hear. The Calhoun plantation lay shrouded in silence. Smoke from the feast still clung to the rafters, mingling with the copper tang of spilled blood. Servants scrubbed the dining hall floor until their knuckles bled, but the stain would not vanish. Chains clinked louder in the quarters that night, every shackle whispering what had been done. In the master's chamber, Margaret Calhoun sat with her face in her hands. The air reeked of whiskey and iron. Thomas writhed on the bed, throat wrapped in linen, gurgling like a drowning man. Doctors had been called, but their whispers were grim. Anna clung to Margaret's skirts, doll pressed against her chest. "Why won't father talk, Mama? Why won't he say nothing?" Margaret stroked her daughter's hair, her own hands trembling. He's resting, darling, he's resting." But her eyes betrayed her. They darted to the door where a servant lingered, waiting. "Fetch me holy water," she snapped, voice sharp. "This house is cursed." When the servant hurried away, Margaret's voice dropped to a whisper, meant only for herself. "She's damned us all. That witch has damned us." By morning, word had spread through Westmoreland County. The master's tongue cut out, his own slave standing silent at the feast. Men in frock coats gathered outside the courthouse, tobacco smoke curling from their mouths like fury itself. "She ain't no woman," one spat. "She's a devil in rags." "A demon dressed as a girl," another echoed, tightening his collar. "If we don't make an example, the rest'll rise before winter." The sheriff nodded, jaw set. "She'll be paraded. Shackles, court, gallows if need be. Folks need seeing the cost of rebellion." In the quarters, voices whispered like wind through reeds. Evelyn's name carried in hushed tones, some fearful, some reverent. Old Jonah sat by the forge, hammer, idle in his lap. His cloudy eyes stared into nothing. "Chains broke that night," he muttered. "She showed us a tongue can be silenced, but silence cuts louder than screams." Rachel sat close, her arms still scarred from kitchen burns. "She's no demon, she's freedom dressed in skin." Martha swept ash into her apron, eyes darting. To the door. "You speak too loud," she hissed. They'll burn us all for her sin. But even in her warning, she hummed the lullaby Evelyn once sang, soft and trembling. Others joined, a chorus low and haunting, a hymn of both mourning and defiance. The courthouse smelled of sweat and dust. Wooden benches groaned under the weight of angry planters, their wives fanning themselves with stiff hands. Guards dragged Evelyn in, shackles rattling at her ankles, iron biting her wrists. She walked upright, eyes forward, scar gleaming pale against her dark skin. She hummed under her breath, the lullaby Isaac once sang to her when the nights were longest. The prosecutor slammed his fist on the table, voice ringing. "Gentlemen of the jury, you face no woman here. You face a demon dressed as a girl. A creature who butchered her master in cold blood, desecrating the sanctity of his table, terrorizing his family, his guests, and the order of this county." Murmurs of agreement filled the room. Evelyn said nothing, her eyes fixed on the wood grain of the floor, lips moving only to the hum of her lullaby. The prosecutor sneered. "See how she mocks us even now. She sings to herself, unrepentant, no remorse, no fear, only the pride of sin." The judge leaned forward, powdered wig slipping. "Do you deny the deed?" Evelyn's hum grew louder, steadier. The judge slammed his gavel. "Answer!" She lifted her eyes, gaze like cold fire, and whispered one line only. "If you won't, hear our voices. You'll never speak again." Gasps rippled through the room. The doors creaked. A figure stumbled in. Isaac. His back bent, scars raw, body barely holding. He leaned on a cane, every step a tremor. "Your Honor," he rasped, I testify she is no demon. She is my sister. She bore the lash, the hunger, the silence. She bore what no man here could." The prosecutor sneered. "You dare speak in this hall, a stable rat defending a murderess?" Isaac's voice cracked but did not break. "She did what you all feared. She cut the tongue of tyranny. And for that, you fear her more than death." The judge banged his gavel again. "Enough, this court will not hear sermons from slaves." The jury's verdict came swift as if rehearsed. Guilty without hesitation, the judge's voice dripped with venom. "Evelyn, daughter of no name, you are sentenced to death by hanging at dawn. May God have mercy on your cursed soul." Evelyn's hum rose again, carrying above the jeers, above the judge's pounding, above the rattling of chains. The lullaby filled the chamber, haunting, defiant, unforgettable. The crowd cheered vengeance. The Calhoun name survived, though cracked. Margaret wore black for years. Anna grew silent as stone. The planters congratulated themselves on restoring order. But in the quarters, whispers spread faster than fire. They told of a girl who cut her master's tongue and laid it on his plate. Some called her saint, some called her curse. But all remembered. The narrator's voice cut like thunder. They silenced her body. But the silence she gave him echoed louder. The screen fades to black. The lullaby lingers. In the years that followed, the Calhoun estate fell into quiet, decay. The cracked pillars leaned, ivy clawed at the windows, and at night the halls echoed with sounds the servants swore were not of this world. "They say she walks the house," one maid whispered to another as they scrubbed the hearth. "Barefoot, silent but the floorboards groan. She carries the master's tongue in a cloth still bleeding." Margaret Calhoun dismissed the tales as madness, but her eyes hollowed. Her hair whitened before its time. At night, she would wake to Anna screaming. The child clawed at her doll, its glass eyes reflecting candlelight. "He's in my dreams, Mama." His mouth's open but no words come. "Just blood. Blood everywhere." Margaret rocked her daughter, whispering lies of angels, but the girl's eyes stayed wide, haunted. Far from Virginia, in hidden cellars of Philadelphia and New York, Evelyn's story crossed lips in hushed reverence. Abolitionists gathered in candlelit rooms, the air thick with smoke and fear of discovery. A preacher's son, Nathaniel, now grown, told it often, voice low but steady. They call her the tongue taker. She stood before the men who claimed power over her body, her voice, her life, and she gave them silence in return. That silence rings louder than their sermons. Some gasped at the tale, others nodded, fists clenched. Pamphlets carried fragments of her story, twisted by rumor but always sharp with defiance. Back in the South, On fields where tobacco leaves dried in the sun, chains still clinked with each movement. But the sound changed. To some it was music now, a rhythm of survival. Children whispered the lullaby as they worked, voices soft and sweet against the overseer's glare. Evelyn sang it once, old Rachel told them, her scarred arms stirring. The pot by the fire. When the night was darkest, she hummed it low. Remember it, children, keep it close. Jonah struck his hammer against the anvil, sparks flying. She cut one tongue, he muttered. But every chain's a tongue too. And each strike speaks louder. Time blurred the details. Some swore she slit his throat and bathed in the blood. Others claimed she poisoned his cup with herbs stolen from the fields. Still others whispered she had only leaned close, whispered words in his ear, and his tongue blackened in his mouth until it fell to the floor. But always, the story ended the same. The master's tongue severed, silence delivered by the slave girl who refused to bow. Her act became symbol. The tongue, flesh and blood, turned into something more. For the enslaved, it was power wrestled from cruelty. For abolitionists, it was a warning carved into legend. Silenced voices could still speak, and their echo was deadly. Years later, travelers passing Westmoreland spoke of the Calhoun place, of a girl seen in the window, her scarred wrist catching moonlight, of a whisper carried on the wind, a lullaby hummed too soft to be real. Some turned away in fear. Others paused, listening, their hearts heavy and strange. The narrator's voice cut through the dark. They killed her body, but they could not kill her silence, and in silence she spoke. She speaks still, in chains, in songs, in the stories of the living. The girl they hanged became the legend they could never silence, the tongue taker. The gallows are gone, the fields have changed, but the question remains, what is justice? The courts of Virginia called it law, iron chains, bloodied backs, and the slow grinding of bodies into profit. They named rebellion a crime, they named silence obedience, and they buried her beneath the word murderer. But when law defends cruelty, rebellion becomes scripture. Every cut, every whisper, every lullaby hummed in the dark becomes a verse. Evelyn's hands carried no book, yet her act was a sermon written in blood. She turned silence into a weapon, a tongue severed, a feast broken, a hall of masters brought low by a girl who had nothing but scars and memory. Was it monstrous? Yes, the linen-wrapped tongue, the silver plate, the eyes of a child watching her father's ruin, monstrous beyond comfort. Was it righteous? Yes. In a world where mercy was denied, she carved her own language into the flesh of her oppressor. Memory is the battlefield. Some call her demon, others saint. Some whisper she walks still, a shadow in the halls of Calhoun's broken house. But legends live where law cannot reach, in songs hummed low in the fields, in pamphlets carried north. In the way, silence itself can echo louder than thunder. She was not the first, she was not the last. But Evelyn's story reminds justice is not always a verdict. Sometimes it is a scream. Sometimes it is a silence sharp as a blade. And sometimes it is a girl, scar on her wrist, humming a lullaby while the world trembles. If your voice were stripped from you, if your tongue were chained by fear, if your family were broken before, your eyes, if every prayer rose only to be mocked, what would you do? Would you bow your head and forgive? Or would you burn it all down? Evelyn's choice was not born from freedom. It was carved from silence, from scars, from lullabies drowned beneath the crack of a whip. Her story forces us to ask the questions. History prefers to bury, not just what she did, but why and what we would do standing in her place. History remembers the powerful by name. The oppressed survive as whispers, rumors, half-forgotten tales. But here, in this telling, Evelyn's voice, though severed, returns. Her silence becomes our burden. Her fire becomes our question. If this story shook you, if it made you listen to the echoes in the chains and the lullabies in the dark, then join us. Subscribe, share her story, carry it into the light, because history hides its darkest truths, and only together can we drag them from the shadows. Her silence has spoken. The question now waits for you.